Hello, future 3D artists! Have you ever wanted to create your own characters, objects, or even entire worlds on your computer? With 3D modeling and animation, you can let your imagination run wild. This exciting field might seem daunting at first, but don't worry. With easy-to-use software like Blender, you can start creating amazing things in no time. Blender is a free and powerful program used by professionals and hobbyists alike. It's like a digital toolbox filled with everything you need to sculpt, shape, paint, and animate in a virtual 3D space. It might seem a little overwhelming at first, but with a little practice, you'll be amazed by what you can achieve. In this beginner's guide, we'll walk through the basics of Blender, from downloading and installing the software to creating your first simple animation. We'll explore how to create basic shapes, move them around, add colors and textures, and even bring them to life with animation. So, are you ready to dive into the exciting world of 3D modeling and animation? Let's get started. Before we begin our 3D adventure, we need to set up our digital studio. The first step is downloading Blender, our 3D creation tool. Head over to the official Blender website at https://www.blender.org/. Look for the big download button and click on it. The website will automatically detect your operating system, whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux. Make sure you download the correct version for your computer. Once the download is complete, double-click the installer file and follow the on-screen instructions. Installation is usually straightforward, just like installing any other program. Congratulations, you've successfully installed Blender. Now, let's launch the program and take a look around. You'll see a splash screen with the Blender logo and some information about the software. Click anywhere on the screen to enter the exciting world of 3D creation. Welcome to the Blender interface. It might seem a bit confusing at first, but don't worry, we'll navigate it together. At the center of the screen, you'll see a cube. This is the default object in Blender, our starting point for creating amazing things. In Blender, everything starts with simple shapes. To add more shapes, press the Shift key and the A key at the same time. Shift plus A. This will open a menu with various options. For now, let's focus on the mesh category. A mesh is a collection of points, lines, and faces that define the shape of a 3D object. In the mesh category, you'll find basic shapes like a cube, sphere, cone, and cylinder. Click on any of these shapes to add them to your scene. Try adding a few different shapes to your scene and see what you can create. Now that you have some shapes in your scene, let's learn how to move and manipulate them. To select an object, simply right-click on it. You'll see an orange outline appear around the selected object. To move an object, press the G key on your keyboard. This will activate the Grab tool. Now you can click and drag your mouse to move the selected object freely in 3D space. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard for more precise movements. To resize an object, press the S key for scale. Click and drag your mouse outwards to make the object bigger, or inwards to make it smaller. You can also scale an object along a specific axis by pressing S, followed by X, Y, or Z to constrain the scaling to the corresponding axis. Section 5. Adding colors and textures. Our shapes are starting to come together, but they look a bit bland, don't they? Let's add some colors and textures to make them more visually appealing. In Blender, we can do this using materials. To add a material to an object, first select the object you want to color. Then look at the bottom right corner of the Blender interface. You'll see a panel with various tabs. Click on the tab that looks like a ball with a red circle on it. This is the Material Properties tab. Click the New button to create a new material for your object. You'll see a bunch of options appear. Don't worry too much about these for now. The most important one is the Base Color option. Click on the white rectangle next to Base Color to choose a new color for your object. Section 6. Lights, Camera, Action. Our scene is starting to look more interesting with colors and textures, but it's still a bit dark, isn't it? Let's add some lights to illuminate our creation and bring it to life. To add a light, press Shift plus A again, but this time choose Light from the menu. You'll see different types of lights to choose from, such as point, sun, and spot. Each light type creates a different effect, so experiment with them to see which one suits your scene best. After adding a light, you can move and rotate it just like you did with the shapes. Try positioning the light in different places to see how it affects the overall lighting of your scene. You can also adjust the light's brightness and color in the Object Data Properties panel which you can access by clicking on the little light bulb icon. Section 7, bringing your creation to life. Now comes the really exciting part, animation. With Blender, we can bring our static objects to life by creating movement over time. To start animating, we need to understand the concept of a timeline. At the bottom of the Blender interface, you'll see a long bar with numbers on it. This is the timeline. Each number represents a frame in our animation. Think of frames like individual pictures in a flipbook. When played back quickly, these frames create the illusion of motion. To animate an object, we need to create keyframes. A keyframe is like a snapshot of an object's position, rotation, or scale at a specific point in time. By creating multiple keyframes at different points on the timeline, we can define how an object moves over time. Section 8. Sharing your masterpiece. You've poured your creativity into building a 3D world, animating objects, and setting the stage with lights and materials. Now it's time to share your masterpiece with the world. Blender makes it easy to render your creation, turning it from a collection of virtual objects into a stunning image or video. To start the rendering process, press Ctrl plus F12 on your keyboard. Blender will take a moment to calculate the lighting, shadows, and effects in your scene. Once it's finished, you'll see your rendered image appear in a new window. If you created an animation, you can render it as a video file. Before pressing Ctrl plus F12, go to the Output Properties panel, which looks like a printer. Here, you can choose the output format such as MP4 or AVI, and set the resolution and frame rate for your video. Section 9. Keep exploring the world of 3D. Congratulations on completing this beginner's guide to Blender. You've learned the basics of 3D modeling and animation, and you're well on your way to creating amazing things. Remember, practice makes perfect. Don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, and learn from them. There's so much more to explore in Blender, from sculpting intricate characters to creating realistic simulations and beyond. The possibilities are endless, limited only by your imagination. So, keep learning, keep creating, and most importantly, have fun on your 3D journey.